centre of the Leicester equaliser. El Khanous, how much room does he have here? El Khanous going for goal, and he finds it as well. What a turnaround here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
4 minutes, Leicester have soaked up so much pressure. Fatawi jinking feet to get beyond his man, and the header from Jamie Vardy makes it 2.
Wood should score. Wood Knockout. Yes! Yes! Anthony Knockout has done it.
Tielemans lining one up. What a goal! What a brilliant goal by Yuri Tielemans! And the Leicester City fans go absolutely potty.
And Damian Vardy. It's 11. It's heaven for Jamie Vardy. Hold the back page. Hold the front page. A Leicester player has smashed the record.
Good morning and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses. I knew Manny had frozen. It's Sunday morning, which means it's time for Good Morning Foxes. Manny, go out and come back in, mate. Then you should be all good. It's match day as well, Jesus. And as always, there's a full day of content coming up on the channel. We're obviously starting with Good Morning Foxes right now, and we'll have match day live later on. I think he's back. Here he is. There we go. That's better, Manny. That's better. So let's get into it. As always, we've got a great panel. Anil, how are you today, mate?
I'm all good. At this time of year, a lot of teams are on the beach. I kind of wish I was on the beach too.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. I'm having to wait until October though, because that's when I go. So, Michael, what's going on with you, mate? How are you?
Very good, thank you. Slightly tired myself. Hiked a mountain yesterday, aptly named Fanny Big. Beautiful mountain if you've never seen it before.
Wow.
And yeah, got back late last night and feeling a bit hazy, but yeah, ready to go.
Okay, well, Michael's been climbing Big Fanny. What have you been up to?
Don't know how to respond to that.
Took him back to his uni days.
We don't talk about those. No digital evidence, thankfully.
Yeah. I did, mate. You all right?
Yeah, all good. Quite excited about today. I was a bit disappointed that Villa won yesterday and kept their charge up, but the chance of ruining Forest's Champions League that's enough to get yourself up for, isn't it?
Well, I was going to say, guys, a meaningless game, but is it a nil? I mean, there is still a couple of things at stake. Vardy's 200th goal, and trying our best to stop Forest's Champions League hopes.
The thing is, I think that matters to the fans. It doesn't matter to the players. So I think you're going to see one team who's right up against it, who's got something to play for, and one who, like I say, is completely on the beach. Yeah, of course, we hope Vardy will score. And you never know. Look what happened with Southampton and Man City yesterday. Sometimes they say a man who's got nothing to lose is the most dangerous man of all, right? So maybe, we could spring a shock, but I don't know. I'm not feeling too positive about the game, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Michael, Forest are in a situation that we were in, for 2 years on the bounce, I suppose, back in 2020 and 2021. Us trying to get Champions League qualification over the line. We failed twice. What do you think to their chances, mate? Do you think we can try and put an end to that?
They've got the luxury of 5 places when we didn't have that. So that's something we can hold over them. But yeah, no, it's a dead game for us. You're absolutely right. And it's completely not for them. And if you look across the whole season, you would say this should be an easy win for Nottingham Forest. The problem is they've only won 1 in their last 5 games across all competitions, which is on our side. If you look at their statistics, their XG is down across the last 6 games in comparison to the rest of the season. So they're creating less chances and they're conceding more chances than they have done all season long. And as you say, they're limping to the line very much like how we limped to the line a couple of times. You know how that feels. And yeah, just exactly as Anil said, odd things happen at the back end of this season. 0-0 Southampton, Man City, 3-1 Everton away from home against Fulham. Like, these are odd results that happen. My heart says Leicester can spring a surprise, but my head's saying that a front 4 of Alanga, Chris Wood, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Callum Hudson-Odoi could have too many questions for a pretty shambolic back 4 we've had this season.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Manny, did you see just quickly, because Michael mentioned the Southampton game yesterday, did you see what Ruben Diaz said about Southampton? Because I don't know what it is. It seems to be these Pep players. I don't know if you remember Rodri used to always do it against us. He used to always cry about how we played against them. For anybody that missed it, after their 0-0 yesterday with Southampton, Ruben Diaz said, they don't even try anything. They just sit and they don't even want to win the game. They just want to be there. It's not good for the show. It's not good for themselves. It's not good for anyone. I mean, I find that absolutely ridiculous that 20th place in the Premier League with about, I don't know, 1/20th of the budget that Man City have turned up, against Man City, got a point from it, and he's having a moan about them.
What I took from that was obviously the comments are just silly. What do you expect Southampton to do, to come out and try and play football against one of the best footballing teams on the planet? It's just, that would be suicide. That'd be silly to do that.
It's what Russell Martin would do.
That's why we shouldn't appoint him. But at the same time, you have to recognise that he's feeling the pressure. Ruben Diaz is feeling the pressure. That result puts them on the back foot. All of those teams, even Arsenal, if you look at their fixtures, they could easily lose the next 2 games. Then they might need to go to Southampton and get a win to make sure that they get into Champions League. It's so tight now that even though there's 5 places, there's so many clubs vying for those spots, and nobody wants to be the one that drops into the Europa League, right? So he's feeling the pressure. They all are feeling the pressure. I wouldn't be surprised if you see lots more strange results that you don't expect moving forward to the end of the season. There's only 3 games, but I mentioned it on our preview show the other day. In this situation, we've been here. We've been here twice. We drew to Steve Bruce's Newcastle at home. And when we were going for 5th one of those years, anomalous results will happen when that pressure is on you. So, the form table, the league table largely goes out the window at this stage of the season.
Yeah.
I saw a
100%.
Southampton fan tweet, and they said something along the lines of, like, what did they expect if you've seen us try to play football all season? It's a pretty fair comment.
100%. I mean, Southampton need a point to get past Derby's records, and they got it. Happy days. But did you see the tweet? Oh my God, my head would be on Mars if my club had put in the season that they had, and they're basically celebrating not equaling Derby's points record on Twitter. That's embarrassing, isn't it?
I mean, if you're their social media guy, you've got nothing else to go on all season. You got to give them a break, surely. That is something to celebrate. They did it. I saw another one where they did like the highlights of the match, and it was like 7 Man City chances that all missed, and there was like one bit where someone turned in their own box. They never got past the halfway line from Man City. Pretty hilarious, but I don't know. I think if we were in the same camp, we'd probably be celebrating not being the shittest team in Premier League history. So good for them, I say.
I think for our fan, I think we'd go the other way though, and we'd be like, yeah, I want to be the worst team in Premier League history. I want to go down, take something from the fucking season.
Look, as football fans, we're a sad bunch, right? And if your team is playing horrifically or having a bad season, the only real enjoyment you get is laughing at the misery of others. And particularly if their misery happens to be some of your rivals. So yeah, I mean, you're allowed to poke fun and laugh. I mean, everyone who saw Mikel Arteta's post-match interview this week, I mean, even as Leicester fans, like everybody else, you're just sitting there thinking, God, some people out there are absolutely mental. And you've got to be able to enjoy other people's mentalness as part of the enjoyment of football.
Luis Enrique agreed with him, though, apparently. Luis Enrique thought that Arsenal were the best team in the competition. At least that's what Mikel Arteta's convinced himself.
Although Luis Enrique came and did his press conference straight afterwards, laughed and said, I didn't say that, that's not true.
Yeah, honestly, this week for me has been like prime Arsene Wenger ball, where all the Arsenal YouTubers are just having meltdowns and breakdowns over their club. It's quite enjoyable to watch, to be honest. They're arguing, whether he should be sacked or not, all of this stuff. But yeah, right. Let's talk about this. Now, this was the lineup that Leicester City put out last time out against Southampton. Obviously, we got a win in that one. Going into the Forest game, I'll come to you first, Anil. Are there any changes there that you really want to see? Because obviously I think we were probably a little bit disappointed. Well, no, we were definitely disappointed with Jordan Ayew, for example, starting the game. We thought we might be able to get a Jeremy Monga start, or maybe Jake Evans or something like that. But yeah, what stands out to you, mate? What would you like to see differently today?
Where's Caleb Okole? Those centre halves need to do one. So there is the change. Yeah, and Monga as well, but I don't think he'll do that. I'm pretty sure he'll keep the same team as he started last time, unless there are some injury concerns or anything like that. I think for me, the bigger thing is that Michael mentioned that Forest XG is down. Actually, the thing with them is that whilst they've been super effective, and I think they have outperformed this season, the way that they play is they're not a front foot team. So literally the stupidest thing we could do is turn up at their ground and try and play football, which is what I expect Van Nistelrooy is going to try and do. But we actually shouldn't. We should basically be like, okay, you come on to us, because they're not really good at breaking down teams that way. And then we might get some chances our way. But that said, we can't play. Mavadidi's out for the season, isn't he? Ricardo. So I don't know. There's not that much we could do. But I'd like to see the young players still get given more time. I think Monga was quite impressive last game. Yes, it was Southampton. But that is now the Southampton that's the second worst team in Premier League history, not the worst. So there you go, not as bad as we thought. So
and one of our rivals next season.
Exactly. So look, for me, Jeremy Monga, I feel at minimum he's got to get given an entire half of football. I just say give him a start, to be honest.
Yeah, Michael, let me come to you next, mate. Because again, I said meaningless, but the last couple games and the next couple games. We've been talking a lot about youth. We want to see youth. We want to see the future. We want to see players that will be here next season. Hopefully, Monga is one of them. Would he be one of the first that you bring in into the team sheet this week?
If not starting, then I would like to see him get at least like sort of 30 minutes or so. And I think I believe that for a lot of the youngsters, giving them these stray 5 minutes is rather pointless. I think I was listening to one of the podcasts last week, and they were like, "What's Ruud van Nistelrooy got to learn from playing Jordan Ayew?" And if this man truly believes that he has a career at Leicester City next season, then surely he wants to look at the talent he's going to be working with next season rather than what he's already seen. Why would you keep picking the players who had already let you down? Why don't you at least give someone else the chance to let you down? I just want to continuously see the addition of Casey McAteer, because I don't have the exact statistic to hand, but I reckon of all of the players on our pitch, he's most probably got the best points record. I think if every game that he starts, I reckon we've win, draw, and Mussolini lost like one or two. He hasn't started many games. He's been very injury prone, but I reckon his points to game ratio is probably the best of any player in our team. And I think just having a player with that much energy on the pitch, he's our equivalent of lacks a lot of talent in comparison given the season he's had, but he's most probably our equivalent of like Murphy for Newcastle, where you just need that sort of player who's a proper team player. So I want to continuously see him. I think he could have a really good season next year.
Yeah, I mean, over to you, man. I think that's a really good point what Michael makes about McAteer, because I think Anil and Kate have been joking all season that Ruud loses him down the side of the sofa and then finds him every now and then loses him again. But he did start in the first game under Ruud, which we won. I can't remember if he started the second one, which we drew against Brighton. Then we didn't see him for. There we go. And then we didn't see him for months. And then he plays against Brighton, and we get a point. And then he started against Southampton, and we won. So yeah, start on that one first, Manny McAteer, and then you can talk about the others.
I would start McAteer, but I'll play him left wing today. There's a specific reason. If you look at Forest, there's a big difference between their left-hand side and their right-hand side. So their right-hand side has Aina, who has been absolutely brilliant this year. What a fantastic bargain they found in Ola Aina. He used to play for Fulham, went abroad, come back. He's big, he's strong, he's rock solid, he's consistent. And also in front of Aina, they've got Alanga. Now, he is fast touch fibres. He's fast, he's quick, he's direct. So down their right-hand side is really, really tough. It's tough to attack them because you're worried about Alanga being on the counter and Aina's rock solid himself. So down that left-hand side, I think we need to have pace to cover Alanga. So I would play Woyo instead of Luke Thomas as left back, as a one-on-one to protect against Alanga. And you don't really want to attack him too much. You just kind of want to contain him. And that is sort of Casey's strength. He's defensively, his energy, his work rate, his intensity is good. Down the left-hand side, so I would look to defend. However, on the right-hand side, they've got Nico Williams. Hudson-Odoi's out. They'll be playing Sosa. They lack pace. Nico Williams is not a proper left-back. Forest fans love him. I'm not the biggest fan myself. He overcommits to the ball when he's trying to tackle. So our joy comes down the right-hand side and attacking. So I'm fine with JJ as right-back. I think he should be able to handle Sosa pretty well. But I want to see Jeremy Monga take on Nico Williams, because I think one-on-one, he'd have him on toast more times than not. So you can be more defensive. You can kind of compact your play to our left-hand side to try and leave the space for Monga one-on-one against Williams. And I say, Jeremy, take that boy on. You've got the beating of him.
Can I just quickly chime in with a little bit more loving for Casey McAteer, just whilst he's on my mind? If we are in some financial difficulty next year, and I'm thinking ahead rather than staying on the Forest game, I wonder if we could use him as a makeshift striker. I don't know if you remember right at the start of the Championship season, before he got injured and before Fatu sort of like locked down that right wing spot, I think he scored a few goals. And I think running in behind, fantastic, leading from the front with the press. I think if we are, I'd rather see us invest some money in the defence that needs massive investment. And I wonder if Casey McAteer could be a makeshift striker next season. I've sort of thought that for a while. It won't happen this game. Obviously, we're all our chips are on Jamie Vardy for the remaining 3 games, but I wouldn't mind seeing it.
What do you think to that, Nil? To be honest with you, before Fatawu came in, McAteer was rather unlucky last season. He picked up an injury, of course, which is unlucky in itself. And then, Fatawu came in, and I mean, it's Fatawu. He was excellent. So, but he was very good when he did play for us last season. I think he, I don't want to be harsh on him, but it probably is his level that he can excel at the Championship.
I think he was also quite decent in the number 8 slot for Renzo in some of the games in his particular systems. There's a lot of roles he could play. I would say, I know what Michael's saying, but I think next season in the Championship, I don't think defence is the thing that we've got to worry about based on the last time that we're down there. We're going to have teams just parking the bus. The way we're going into next season, we've literally got no strikers, and we're probably going to have Jordan Ayew up front, which is about as terrifying as it sounds. We'll see. You never know. Maybe he'll smash the Championship. We've definitely got to figure out something to solve there. But I don't know. Like I said, I actually think Casey, I preferred him in the 8 position when Patel was playing. But let's see what he can do. He has reminded Rude that he has got a lot of qualities, I think. Has he got the technicalities to play in the Premier League? We don't know. But I still think he's one of those players, if he got like a real run of games, he could still show something. Like he'd been linked to, was he with Sunderland or something like that at the start of this last season? I got a feeling if he actually played on loan there for the season or something like that, he might have, really kicked on a little bit. So let's see what happens with him.
Teams have these sort of players, they don't they? Like Newcastle for a long time last season relied on Sean Longstaff to put in a shift, and he's no football player, really, is he? and Bournemouth, for example, like I feel like I'm dragging names through the mud here who mostly don't deserve it, like Ryan Christie. These teams need players like that, and I think he could be his biggest problem. He is still very young. He's had 2 injuries this season, and he had a long injury last season. He's most probably just a bit injury riddled.
I mean, he is very versatile, because I think, what team was it at? Was he at, I want to say Wickham? No, it wasn't Wickham. Where was it? The season before our Championship season. But he was playing right back. He played on the wing. He's played in the 10 or the 8. At the 8 under Enzo. He's very versatile, Manny. Do you agree with that, though? That it's a good player to have in the squad, or as we saw in January, I think there was a £10 million bid for him. Would you rather just cash in?
Take the money. I'm ruthless. I'm cold, unlike these guys, and unlike those people. Casey's an okay player, brilliant attitude, high intensity, great work rate. Doesn't cause you a problem. I would love to have him around. His utility is right. He can cover a lot of positions. He's a useful squad member. There's no doubt about that. But the player does have no, because as his contract runs down, he's going to end up leaving at some stage. So his value diminishes as his contract carries on. So then ultimately the longer term question is, will we be giving him a new contract down the line? And my answer would be no, because my objective is to be a good Premier League team. And Casey, unfortunately, is not at that level. At the same time, he does carry some value. £10 million would be very useful. It also looks great on your PSR books because he's a homegrown player. I'm sorry, you've got to be ruthless in this business. There's no room for sentimentality. The boy just doesn't have the required quality. He's not the level of Mavididi or Fatawu with the ball at his feet. Defensively, fine, all those things, but I don't pick my wingers based on their defensive abilities.
10 million is 5 million. 10 million in January is like 5 million in the summer. I don't reckon we'd get 10 million in the summer for him.
I would have taken 10 in January.
With this ruthless mentality, Manny's going to stick us out with 8 players next season. We can't get rid of every player, or as much as we would like to. It's got to be phased out.
Of course. So those ones where it all depends on bids. So, but if somebody does come in with a £10 million bid for Casey McAteer this summer, I'm biting their hands off. I'm taking it straight away. You know, of course, in an ideal world, there's probably quite a few players you'd like to shift, and you're never going to be able to shift all of them. So you shift what you can. And he's one of those players, it appears, that other clubs are interested in. So I would move him on.
I was going to say, what's your thoughts on this, Adil? Because I feel like we are now I saw a comment on the channel the other day, but we're in this weird situation now where we're more likely to actually lose our younger, more, exciting players. The dead woods is the ones that, seems like the one that are going to stay. Like Ayew, Bobby Reed, Skip. They're going to stay, and the younger ones that are useful to have are probably going to be the ones to go.
Well, that's why that concerns me. I'm torn on it. I do see what he's saying, take the money to reinvest. I do think in January we probably should have done it and reinvest it into the team. So it's amazing that they didn't do that. Same with Luke Thomas. But the thing is that he does have a brilliant attitude. I still think there is some more potential. Maybe it's fair to say that he isn't a Premier League player. I think he still deserves one more chance, in my opinion, to sort of prove that yes or no. He never really had a strong run of games in his career yet at a high level. But yeah, I mean, that worries me. You see that happen a lot with teams where they just end up with all the people that are just there to pick up a paycheck, the mercenaries, and it only goes one way, and that way is south. So I think having people like him that, we always say, look at the amount of comments we see in chat, work rate, attitude, professionalism, is off the ball work. Even Enzo, that was the thing that impressed him. That's why that season, if you think about it, people were expecting Alves, Braybrook to maybe get into the team. No one on their Enzo lottery card, bingo card even, had Casey McAteer, yet he was the one that came into the team and he did score really well. And he showed his, he was well worth his place in the squad, proven at that level. Maybe there's something to be said that you do use him next season. You sell him at the end of next season. If you do get promoted, then that's probably more where I lean to. But I do appreciate Manny's like beggars can't be choosers, and you've got to raise the funds somehow. And so if a good offer comes in, you've got to take it when they arise. He's not invaluable to the team, put it that way.
Also,
I suppose I was going to say, Manny. I suppose, if I said to you, I know, knowing you, Manny, your response would be neither. But I'm saying, who would you rather has as your player coming off the bench next season, McAteer or Ayew? It would be McAteer.
Be neither. My answer.
Come on, Manny.
No.
Manny.
That's not an answer. Then I find a third solution. That's not a problem I want to have. It's a good question because you're putting yourself in. No, you're putting yourself in that position if you retain both players. So what I would like to do, given the summer that we have, is not put myself in that position by moving one or two of them on.
But knowing our football club, we will get rid of McAteer.
Do you really think Casey McAteer is going to play 30 games, start 30 games for his next season? How about doing the kid a favour and letting him have a football career, letting him show how good he can be, and let him prove me and other people wrong? He is not going to start above Mavididi. He's not going to start above Monga. He's not going to start above Mavididi. He's not going to start above these guys again. He's doing the same thing, being a bench player. And if the guy couldn't break into our team and hold down a place this season when Fatawu was out, and we had Ayew and Cordova-Reid starting, then what makes you think that Cordova-Reid or Ayew isn't going to start above him next season?
But that's not his fault, is it?
What I'm saying is he's fifth in the pecking order, maybe sixth.
According to us, it's Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah,
it's Van Nistelrooy who
blame McAteer for Ruud van Nistelrooy.
I'm not. But you can't have it. Look, We all say we want Monga, we want Mavididi, we want Fatah, we would like to see Jake Evans get game time. We'd like to see Case. We can't give all of these guys masses of game time. You have to. We've got Ayew and Cordova-Reid on the books as it stands. The likelihood is that they will get game time too. Casey McAteer is a squad player. If you're getting £10 million for a squad player in the Championship, when you've got to cut costs, you do it.
I gave you the solution though, and that was to play him as a number 9 because I think he'd do a better job there than one of Jordan Ayew or Patson Daka, personally.
I know, but I want to use that as a building block for the Premier League. So the striker that we get and the reserve striker we get and the young striker we get, it has to be with a view of giving these guys game time so that they're better positioned in the Premier League once we go back up. Casey McAteer is not going to be a striker in the Premier League. He's not going to be a striker.
The striker you get in the Championship, though, is Tom Cannon. You end up sacking off because you can't get a performance. The striker you get in the Championship isn't the striker you really want in the Premier League. Be honest with you, because there's not every team wants a number 9. We're well aware of that all throughout the whole Premier League, maybe even globally. There's very finite amount of them who are actually that good. I think we need to, as I say, I think we need to pick our battles. And unfortunately, you're picking the wrong battle here, man.
No, you're right, because you saw Leeds United last season when we were there. They signed Joel Perreault, who was considered the best, if not top 3 strikers in the Championship. And, they've been promoted and they're already trying to sack him off. They're trying to get Beto from Everton.
Right, Michael, I want a piece of Michael now. Right, Michael. He's coming for me. It's time to educate these young people. Okay, so your job is last time we sold £100 million worth of players. Was it 100 million when we went down? And we spent 38. Okay, so we have to, if we want to spend 30-40 million, we have to raise 90 million pounds, right? Roughly speaking, if it was similar, where are you going to raise 90 million pounds, Michael?
Well, let's start with Mads Hermansen.
How much are you realistically going to get for him?
20 million.
Okay, where's the other 70 coming, Michael?
Realistically, we're going to get rid of Bilal Al-Khanous.
How much are you getting for him?
25-30 million.
Okay, so
we're halfway there. We're halfway there.
And okay, so where are you getting the other half from?
Wout Faes most probably go for about 15 million.
15? Are you insane? You're not getting your money back for Wout Faes.
Well, we'll get 10. We'll get 10 for him.
All right, we won't get 10, but I'll concede 10 for the sake of it. Okay, 35 million left.
There's so many players I could get rid of here. Wilfred Ndidi, how much are you going to give me for him? You're his love of
9. His 9 is close.
Yeah.
So you've got 26 million left. We haven't even started generating funds so we can spend.
Getting rid of the trash either. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
We got rid of the heavy hits, and I haven't started getting rid of the 2s and the 3s.
You're 25 million short. Plus, you've got to raise funds that you would like to spend on top of that. So where's that coming from?
Well, we also are going to have a bit of on top of the players that we sold there, we are going to have a bit of a transfer budget. We're going to have parachute payments. I reckon you must probably have 100 million there, roughly, give or take.
Last time we were in exactly the same
wages. 12
last time, exactly the same situation. We basically sold £100 million worth of player. We don't have £100 million worth of talent without losing significant numbers of our squad. When you've got a squad player who is 5th or 6th down the pecking order, and you can get 10 million for him, it would be an insane world not to take that money.
I do think it
probably shouldn't be 5th or 6th, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a little bit naive to think. You said a second ago, Manny, that McAteer ain't starting over Monga. I'm not sure. Yes, Monga should be a big part of the squad next season, but I think it's more likely he's either sent out on loan.
He's 16 years old.
I could see
I think he'll
happening.
have more than that, but I don't think he'll be starting every game to begin with. I think he'll be eased in still, sharing the I expect him to be. I see how they use Yamal in Barcelona was the same thing. Started coming off the bench, getting more and more minutes. Then he starts getting some starts. Then towards the end of the season, he's the first choice player, sort of thing. So we'll see.
I don't like the comparison that some people have made on this channel as well. I can't remember the guy's name. He's an older fella. And he's just like, oh, well, look at Wayne Rooney. He was doing it for Everton at 16. And I'm like, yeah, but his career curtailed at 28. And also, he was built like a 25-year-old when he was 15. Monga's still quite slight. It's a completely different build of player.
He's not that slight. He's actually quite... If you look at his muscle body, he's thin, but he's actually quite honest. I don't think you guys are looking close enough. He's actually quite well developed.
Look, I think
the overarching point is, look, if you could sell Ayus and Winks or a Skip or a Cordova Reed. If you could get those guys off your books and generate money there, then there's Casey moves up that pecking order. But this season, we've lost 16 out of 17. He's not been a regular starter under 2 different managers. Even under Enzo, he filled a hole. Well, not all the time. You know, we've had 3
Look at
managers.
his transfer mark. He was injured for large spells of this season.
I
And
think
then
you're-
when
I
you
think-
come back, the team moves without you, doesn't it? Because you've been injured. So
I think you're overrating the talent of the player.
Let's
I
ask
think you're
this
underrating
then.
him. So maybe it's somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah, but as Locks will know, I don't get players wrong. So
Here we go. Let's ask this, guys. Then let's just go around and just get a quick answer from all of you. If there is a £10 million bid this summer for Casey McAteer, like there was in January, if there was a £10 million bid, and Neil, would you accept that?
Yes.
Michael, £10 million?
Can I give more than just a one-word answer?
Go on.
Was that the?
No, go on.
I would say no, but this is on the grounds that I know that this club will spunk 10 million on the worst players you've ever seen in your whole entire life.
Yeah.
in a world where you can buy Callum Hudson-Odoi for 3 million and Anthony Elanga for 15 million, I'm taking 10 for Casey McAteer because with smart shopping and really good recruitment, with that 10 million, I can find you a player who's twice as good.
I understand what you mean, but Nottingham Forest are fantastic at this. I think they spent less on Milenkovic than we did on Akoli, which is just absolutely mental. But I mean, you're not convincing that level of talent to a championship team. You're not convincing an Elanga or a Callum Hudson-Odoi to a championship team.
And Murillo as well, right? Murillo was cheaper than Akoli and FaZe. Yeah. I'm sure he was, yeah. Okay, 12 million, there you go, for Milenkovic. And I think Akoli was around the same, if not maybe just slightly. Yeah, 15, I think Akoli was. Right, and Nil, I'm going to come to you first on this one because I'm saving Michael and Manny to last.
The debate.
There has been a couple reports, if you like, if you can call something from the Sun a report. But Sean Dyche being linked to Leicester again. I mean, we've had the same few names linked for a while. We've had Sean Dyche, Russell Martin. I think Scott Carsey was there. There's a few others, but yeah. What do you make to Sean Dyche being linked again? And are you thinking maybe it could happen?
It could do. I mean, I've said this a number of times. He wouldn't be my choice, but you ask most championship fans, and they would say if Leicester don't appoint him, they're missing a tap in from 2 yards out. You're literally talking about a manager who knows the championship inside out, who'll come in, and if you appoint him, Leicester will win the championship. And their evidence would be Scott Parker, one of the most boring Burnley teams you'll ever see, 100 points. Daniel Farke, 100 points. Chris Wilder, okay, not so much, but they got to 90 points, which is pretty good. So if that's your mission, is just to get back to the Premier League, he'll probably get you there. If you're in the Premier League, he's also got a decent record of keeping teams up, as you can see there. For me, I think his football is atrocious. I'm not sure he would change his ways. So I think the long term wouldn't be so good, but who knows? I mean, if you could get him on a 1-year deal, something to be said. I mean, I was more excited for Enzo Maresca because I thought, okay, this is the smart thing to do. Use your season off, your holiday, to actually get in shape, start playing a style of football so that when you come back to the Premier League, you've got an advantage where you could be already up and running and knowing how to do the patterns of play and passing out of trouble. But in the end, Enzo ended up leaving, so it's difficult to say. So it wouldn't surprise me if he came in because, like I said, if you took emotion out of it and you looked at purely results, he's going to be one of the top candidates for what you're going to do, the least risky of all other things. It depends what the budget is. If the club are like, we absolutely can't afford to get stuck in the championship, I can see them doing it. For me, I would rather us go for the more exciting appointment, someone who understands modern football. But Leicester have fallen a long way. That's the reality that we have to wake up for, right? We're not that team that's battling for Europe anymore. We are, at best, a yo-yo team. And if you don't get up to the Premier League in the requisite amount of time, then you get stuck in the Championship. And there are teams in the Championship that have got American finances that are coming that want that Premier League spot too.
Right. Who shall I come to next? I'm gonna come to. No, I'm actually gonna come to Manny first. I am because, so let me bring this comment up here. Reese says there's no long-term plan with Dyche. We don't need a firefighter. We need a young manager with a long-term vision. Does that share your sentiment, Manny?
I think that's fairly sums that up pretty well. And I want to just there's a little moment, an obscure moment that I noticed in the Villa game yesterday. And who were Villa playing against? Sorry, Villa playing last night. Who did they play? Bournemouth.
Yeah.
So Bournemouth are attacking, and Villa hoof it long for Watkins to chase onto, and the defender just clears it out, and the ball goes in for a throw-in just inside the Bournemouth half. So Villa had all of their men apart from Watkins in their own half, and now it's a throw-in to them. Rather than just sort of get the right winger up the pitch and take the throw-in, they moved the entire team into almost to the edge of Bournemouth's box, and they put 4 men forward. They had their men in midfield and defence, and they decided that we need to have our players attacking the opposition as close to their box as possible. Unai Emery is a genius. He understands the value of what I call throttle ball. Make sure you've got lots of numbers forward, put high pressure on the ball, win it as high up as you can. And indeed, if you look at the Villa goal, it was when Semenyo started trying to beat 2 or 3 men. They won the ball high. Instantly, they won the ball. They crossed it first time. Watkins tapped it in. It was literally win the ball, first time cross, goal. And that is lightning fast, what I call throttle ball. Now, if you have a manager who understands the value of having numbers high up to put pressure on them, knowing that if I commit numbers in attacking, they will also have to commit numbers in defending too. So it's not as risky as you might outwardly think. And then you come back to Sean Dyche. What is Sean Dyche going to do in a similar situation? He's going to be playing rugby. We're going to be kicking it into corners, thinking that we get a line out, not a throw in the ball. That is not how I want to play football. That is not the way that you build long-term success. Because, my favourite argument about anti-Dyche is I can see the merits of Dyche. He's solid. He's no nonsense. He won't take any blah, blah, blah. He'll probably get us up. He might even keep us up. But the year after that, it's a case of the same again. He might keep us up again. He might keep us up again. And every year will be might
Why
keep
not
us up
sack him
again.
after 2 seasons, though? Give him a 2-year deal.
Because that was the idea we tried with Steve Cooper. And you're assuming that the first part works well. But because as soon as you do that, you give him a 2-year deal. He's going to say, I want this player, that player, that player, that player. And he builds a Sean Dyche team. So at the end of that 2-year period, when you think, okay, he's done his job, he's kept us up twice, now we want to progress, right? This is normal. West Ham have done it with Moyes a few times. You do your job, and now we want to move on. We'll have a team full of Sean Dyche players. How do we move on? It's like having a Vestergaard and Cody again. Although he didn't even want Cody anyway, so he'd probably want to get rid of that and get Cody 2.0. It's just not anything that is exciting. And for all of those people, in the chat that might say, he took Burnley to Europe once. He did, 7th. He also took Burnley down. There's plenty of other... Brighton have been in Europe. Brentford and Brighton and Bournemouth are competing for Europe now. And they don't play anything like Sean Dyche. And the difference is, when they lose their managers, which they will do eventually, the next manager that comes in can just plug in and carry on the work that the previous manager did. That's my point with Dyche. The next manager can't continue the work with Dyche. He'll have to transform the club then. So why delay the pain? It's not a long-term identity. Decide your identity and stick to it.
Go on then, Michael. I'll let you take over because I know you're not against the idea of Sean Dyche next season.
Yeah, I might even go as far as to say that he might be the perfect man to start the Leicester City rebuild. And Neil commented on it. His championship record is fantastic. And when you look at the managers who are in the championship who have done well this season, Chris Wilder, Daniel Farke, Scott Parker, it doesn't matter really who is in charge of Leicester City next season. I think me and Manny can both agree on that, whether it's Ruud van Nistelrooy, Sean Dyche, or the unknown manager that he doesn't have a name for yet, will most probably be top 6, maybe even pushing for promotion. But yeah, what the biggest upside to Sean Dyche is the stability he offers in the Premier League. And I want to have a case study for you of a manager who has this modern style of football, this attacking identity. and I use like Vincent Kompany as an example. He took a really good Burnley team to the Premier League, had his identity, and got absolutely found out. He actually used the Premier League as an audition for his career afterwards. And yeah, he went on to Bayern Munich and he's done great things, or doing potentially great things. But like, it doesn't translate very well when you haven't got the players to actually to continue that. I think when you go into the Premier League for that first season, you actually need a bit of pragmatism about you. You need to sit and dig in. And I think we could do a lot worse than Sean Dyche. Manny's going to call him a dinosaur. I'm going to call him an overachiever. You know, Burnley in European football, don't underestimate that. That is a huge achievement.
Then why did they sack him?
How many? Well, the season after wasn't particularly good, but they were.
You glossed over that. You glossed over that part, though, didn't you?
Yeah. Well,
the fact is, if he was that great a manager, Burnley would still have him as manager. They wouldn't have sacked him.
It was Burnley on a shoestring budget in European football.
They still sacked him, right?
It's very difficult to fight on those fronts, and they, in a way, they sort of sacrificed a position in the Premier League for a run in the European football.
And you're
West Ham have similarly done a very similar thing. I also don't underestimate what he did with Everton. This season wasn't great, but also he got some fair results. He drew against some of the big teams where we got absolutely pumped. Like, I believe he drew against Newcastle. I believe he drew against Chelsea. He went 3-2 against Bournemouth. That doesn't sound like boring football to me off a scoreline alone.
He did no better than Frank Lampard at Everton. He did no better than Frank Lampard's done. He's done no better than a series of managers at Everton have done. You know, it's the same. You know, it's saying it's the only way to go. I just think it's insane. You know, it's absolutely insane.
Do you know how hard that gap is to bridge from the Championship to the Premier League?
But you're making a false equivalence. We are not Burnley. We are not Southampton. You know, Southampton are trying to play a very cute way of football with substandard footballs. Burnley can't afford any type of cute footballer, so they have to play what they call functional football. We are not Burnley. We are not Southampton. We're the 6th most successful team.
That's not
in
true with
Premier League
Burnley,
history.
Manny. They've completely changed their approach. This is one thing, sorry, that I do have to be critical of you. I don't think you're thinking of the Sean Dyche of today. You've got stuck in your head Sean Dyche of years ago, right? He's changed his approach quite a bit. Look, I've said it before. I personally wouldn't want him, but I think you are doing him a massive disservice.
So which Dyche are you getting, the new one or the old one?
Sorry, say again.
Which Dyche is it today? Is it the new Dyche or the old Dyche then?
Sean Dyche changed his system to 4-2-3-1 and tried to play a similar style of trying to hit teams on the counter-attack, right? But one of the things he was complaining about when he was in charge at Everton is they had no fast players, which is correct. They don't have any fast players, and he was asking for them, and they didn't give it to them. So he had his own things. He took over when that club was absolutely up shit's creek, right? They had the new stadium. They had the owner that wanted out. He did keep them up at our expense, right? They did get rid of him, fair enough, but he was actually doing a good job on limited resources, right?
When he took over, they were 17th. When he left them, they were 17th.
Which is mission accomplished. They didn't get relegated.
Would you take 17th
right?
this season? I absolutely would take.
If I'd never ever been relegated in the history of the Premier League, would I take 17th? No. But again, it's different. We're not Burnley. We're not Everton. We are our own unique situation.
We're not Burnley. They're going to be above us next season. That's the reality of where we are.
For the last 80, 90 years, certainly Premier League, they're below us. We have different budgets. We have different crowds. We have different appeal. You know, we can attract players to our club that Burnley couldn't even dream of. You know,
I disagree. I think as of right now, they will attract better players than we can. And they've even done that in recent seasons, like Odebert, Esteve, have you seen, his Championship Defender of the Season?
That's good recruiting. That's not a name.
Who's that winger they got from the Portuguese league as well? But
they're doing what you've suggested. They changed their transfer approach to try and bring in these dynamic players that they could sell upwards, and it has actually worked for them.
After they sacked Dyche.
Let me ask this.
One more thing quickly. I find it amazing that you value a style of football that doesn't work over actually winning games of football. That's fucking mental to me.
Explain that to me. Would you explain that to me? Because
you're literally willing to pick a manager who's going to, I believe, most probably take us down because he plays a nice style of modern football over a man who is. Did we play
a nice style of modern football this season?
Teams in the Premier League.
Did we play a modern, forward-thinking style of football this season?
Well, we just didn't have the players to do it.
Did we? Did we? Yes or no?
I think Ruud van Nistelrooy would say that he is trying to play
a style of football. And what is Steve Cooper trying to do?
wow, he's playing a completely different game to the rest of the world.
Okay, so is Steve Cooper's more your way of thinking rather than mine? He stunk the place out, mate. It was awful. Rude has also stunk the place out. It's obviously down to the quality of players, so you have to adapt. I'm not trying to play, super nice football if my players are substandard. What I'm trying to do is build a team capable of playing that way eventually.
That's the thing, though, right? You're going to hire a manager that has those ideas. I'll use the case study again. Look at Vincent Kompany. Look at Russell Martin. They don't have the players. They keep trying to play their style of football because they see it as growing their own career. I think the manager that you bring in, I think when the last time you spoke about this, I'm in a fortunate situation. I've been able to hear your arguments throughout. I'm an avid watcher of the channel as well. You were like, oh, why don't we pick the team who finished 5th in the Portuguese league? Well, all that bloke really wants to do is the Arsenal job. He doesn't want the fucking Leicester job.
That's a fact of life when you have quality. It's like saying, I'm not going to pick a really good player because he's just going to leave us one day in the future. That's not how it works. You try and get the best people, best in class in the room. And a minute ago, or 5 minutes ago, you just mentioned Chris Wilder and what's his name from Burnley doing a great job. Scott Parker doing a great job. Vincent Kompany did a great job in the Championship. Russell Martin did a great job in the Championship.
They did a great job. I didn't say they did a great job.
And Enzo Maresca,
doesn't matter who the manager is, we'd be up there because look at the managers who are doing it right now.
Correct. So I agree with you in that point, in that style of football doesn't necessarily matter too much in the Championship. So then we're back to the same debate as what will work in the Premier League. And I'm not... Well, it didn't work that well because he also got sacked in the end. So in the end, whether it's a case of the fans get bored of watching that rubbish football, so he's forced to try and evolve. And Anil correctly pointed out that they did try and evolve at Everton. He's probably been told the last summer, if you don't change your style of play, you're going to be gone. The fans aren't having it anymore. And they did actually sign somebody with pace because they signed NGI for 20 odd million in the summer. And he tried to do it that way, still got sacked. But the consistent element is that he got sacked, whereas when we did have a forward-thinking manager, he didn't get sacked. He went to Chelsea. How likely is it that Dyche is going to leave us for Chelsea? Never in a million years.
Right, let me ask this right. So just quickly, Dyche, the Ginger Jose, Ant wants Dyche. Anil, I want to bring this comment up here. So we spend all season, or we spent a lot of time in the past saying, oh, we don't have the players to play Enzo ball in the Premier League, right? Let's say that. Do we have the players to play Dyche ball? Because I don't think we do. I don't think we've
jump in quickly, make a quick point. So according to Michael, next season, Enzo, let's say old school. I don't want to get on the wrong side of Anil this morning. So let's just say older style Dyche ball, pump it long, compete for the second ball, right? That's the very, very first point. So let's think about it. We're going to have Skip and Winks in midfield competing for the second ball. That's going to go really well. And we're going to hit it long for Patson Daka to try and win headers. I mean, what kind of methodology is this? Do you want to go to League One?
Well, this is what I'm meaning. I don't think we've got. I think we've got a bunch full of pussios, and I'm not sure Dyche would be the best fit for them.
Yeah, but a counterpoint to that is that he would probably select the players that aren't pussios. You might actually get some physicality into the team and get that kind of style working. I think the main difference is that, I've said this before, huge fan of Maresca, did so much tactical analysis of him. But I do think that one thing he was guilty of is that there were many times we were playing against games, we had 70% possession and we were trying to be too cute. And at that point in the game, you just have to say, Leicester versus Plymouth, man for man, which team's got the better player? Just go for the 50-50 because you're going to win it more times than you lose it and you'll win the game. You don't have to win every game playing Picasso football, right? Sometimes you can just shithouse a win. And that's basically what, Scott Parker's done this season, Daniel Farke to a lesser extent. They've been grinding out the results. They still have some games where they're great. I saw a Burnley game where they went 5-0 away or something like that. They're absolutely brilliant. But most of the time, they just played fairly turgid football, but got over the line, ground out the results, and that's got the 100 points and they got promoted. So that's the sort of style that you're going to get there. I think because still we're going to have a better squad man for man than 90% of teams in the Championship, that sort of style will work. So I think we kind of do. I do appreciate, though, the concern that, yes, someone like him, is he going to do a Steve Cooper and start signing players that, again, are going to shift us away and away? But if you don't mind, I brought up another comment from Ben. Can you bring that one up?
Yeah, here it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is, in my opinion, is kind of the reality, which is that like, I think we want to jump the gun too much, right? We're still in our head thinking we're Leicester City that finished 5th 2 seasons in a row. We won the FA Cup. We're pushing up. We're going to, sock it to the big six and we're going to take their spot. That is long gone. The club has regressed massively. And this season as well, we're now going to be losing more and more of that established Premier League quality. So we're basically starting again. And the problem is, as a lot of these teams that have tried to build these attractive style of football, technical teams in the Championship, as Michael says, when they come to the Premier League, they can't do it, right? Because the gap is too big. All the really good technical players, they are bought by the Premier League team. So the ones that you're getting, they're not capable of making that jump. So unfortunately, you probably do need to do something of being a bit more pragmatic, come up. Like the best example I can give is Thomas Frank at Brentford. If you look at how Brentford played when they first got promoted to how they play now, it's night and day. And they still had a lot of the same players. Like when they got promoted, they still had Mbuemo, Johan Vissa. A lot of the players that are actually there today were still there and brought through their B team, right? So he realized that. And in his first season, I think after 10 or 15 games, he had the dawning that shit, this style that we played in the Championship ain't cutting it here. And I just need to go back to whatever's going to work. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be brutal, but, I'll do what it takes. And then we can build on it year upon year, because it's going to take it like 8 transfer windows to slowly, incrementally build your team and improve it. That's what I think the reality is. I think the last time that we got relegated, we were in a much better position because we managed to retain a lot of that Premier League quality. So I think there was a much stronger argument to say, well, do you know what? Actually, because we're retaining all this Premier League quality and we cheated the system by not, going through the FFP and selling all our players, we could basically have a Premier League team in the Championship come back up, and then we won't have lost too much damage. In fact, we might actually have improved the team in some way. But as it turns out, when we got promoted again, losing James Maddison, Harvey Barnes and Yuri Tillemans is going to make your team what it is, which is shite. This time round, if we do come back, who's going to be quote unquote Premier League quality? Harry Winks, Yannick Vestergaard, players that aren't going to get into really many Premier League teams. So
I hear what you're saying, Anil, and you're right with a lot of it. But it is that kind of mentality of like, we just need to stay it for a year or two. That led us to appoint Steve Cooper in the first place.
Yeah,
and that all it actually did was having that idea of we just need to stay up, and his idea was we need functional Premier League experience to keep you up. And what has that actually done? He spent half our transfer budget and worsened the problem in the longer term. We're going to be... That mentality led us to a position...
I actually don't want Daesh, but I am just trying to sort of see it.
Like I said, I agreed. You were right with it, a lot of what you said in terms of logic, like that thinking. But that thinking is exactly what we did after Enzo. We could have carried on. At that point, we could have said... in the boardroom meeting, do we carry on with Enzo? And somebody says, I'm not convinced it's going to work in the Premier League trying to play that way. You know what we need to do? We just need to stay up for a year or two, solidify ourselves, and then we'll be all right. Do you know what? Steve Cooper kept Forest up for a year. And the second year, he nearly kept them up. And you've seen how they progressed. Why don't we just do that? How did that work out for us? And Michael mentioned Vincent Kompany, who got relegated with Burnley because the style of football didn't work for Burnley in the Premier League. And he is right about that. But it wasn't the manager being the problem. Because he got the Bayern Munich job, because he had that vision and he was young. But I just think Bayern Munich have just won the league this season. They lost it by 20 points last season with Thomas Tuchel, the current England manager, in charge.
Well.
That is
facts. Had a once-in-a-generation season.
But you don't have to be 20 points off that, right? 20 points.
Let me just read this out as well, because I mentioned the Sun, but Alan Nixon, who is patchy with his reporting, he said Dyche is back in the frame for the Leicester job. The former Everton chief is seen as the man to pull off the recovery act by some leading figures at the Foxes headquarters. Leicester have been looking around for a replacement for Ruud van Nistelrooy. There was a lobby for a footballing coach like Russell Martin or Liam Manning. However, the financial pressure of getting promotion back to the Premier riches is now becoming the main factor in the decision-making. The experienced coach is based in the Midlands, so the move would be ideal for him. Sources close to Dyche claim he was ready to answer calls from Leicester during the season, but he wasn't looked at. So let me just ask you, Michael, what we were speaking about a second ago, quickly, just to end this Dyche discussion. do we have the squad? Because I think it's naive that some people are saying they're speaking in this fantasy land that somebody like Dyche comes in and sorts out all the bad eggs at the club, with his hard man act. I don't think that works in modern football anymore. Like, what will happen? Dyche comes in, says a few kind of home truths, and then they just, like Winks and Vestergaard, they just leave the squad. Like, what's that going to do?
No, I mean, I'm not sure if that's the case. I think he'd obviously need a transfer window to bring in some of his players and solidify the defense. I think that's absolutely huge. And Manny, stop rolling your eyes. But we'd still have. If, let's say, he did want to play this sort of counter-attacking style of football, we know it does work in the Premier League. It worked in the past and still works today. We're playing Nottingham Forest this weekend. That's how they play football. We'd retain Mavididi, most probably retain Fatawu. We'd have some attack with some pace going forward, and he'd just solidify the defence that's needs solidifying for a very, very long time. I'll give you that defence, Michael. You're right. I'll give you that defence. He's good at organising defence. He's good at set pieces. All those things are good. But our sexiest elements of our squad, Fatawu, Mavididi, Monga, how would he do managing those kinds of players? I think it'd be absolutely fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, you want to bypass them bypass them anyway to try and get it to the long man.
Well, there's two ways of playing long ball, isn't there? And you can look at it your way, which is just, I don't know, John Carew up top knocking headers on, or the other way is more of like a long diagonal ball to the winger. Who's then
You're right. That is my vision, actually. You're right about that.
He could. I mean, it's not going to take much coaching to get a centre back pinging a ball to Fatawu and saying, "Go on then, Chief." Off you go.
Yeah, worries like Harry Maguire goes on the right wing, does a few skills, or he scores a late goal against Leon, and everyone goes, "See, told you! Look, just get the big man up top again." I mean, it's like look. Some people like McDonald's, some people like Five Guys.
I love Brexit ball.
Pick your poison.
But let's just. I'll use it like to sort of try and gain a close on this. Look at a manager like Ruben Amorim, what he's doing at Man United. He has far more riches than what Leicester have, a fairly decent squad. He's not getting a tune out of them, and he has the modern style of football. And they're like 5 times the team that we are, really. Well, and he's 5 times the manager than anyone that we could get.
The reality is both of us could find anecdotal examples of how a certain manager in a certain club and a certain system did work or it didn't work, and we'll find examples to support your case. At the end, I don't want to say there's no right or wrong, but it comes down to personal preference. So you get to choose what you want for your club. Do you really want to watch 2, 3, 4 years of Sean Dyche at our club, having seen him for 10 years? Is that really what you want to see every week?
I think Michael would much rather.
I believe the path is to get to the Premier League, and then that first season is the most important. And I think Sean Dyche would give us as good a chance as any manager of actually remaining in there.
That's and Steve Cooper thinking.
He's a much better manager than Steve Cooper. Your mindset on this is that when he goes, you have to rip up the whole club. But if the plan is to have Sean Dyche there, then all we're actually doing is just following the model that we set for ourselves, which is Sean Dyche will keep us in the league, and then we can move on to a more expansive style of football. That in itself does have its concerns, though. I'll use West Ham as a prime example of that. All their fans was like, David Moyes out, David Moyes out, David Moyes out. They bring in Lopetegui, and it's absolutely crap. It's just
and now Potter.
And Potter, similarly, I mean, he needs a whole pre-season. He's actually a very talented manager, I believe.
Michael, you and I do not agree on much.
He'll probably be first manager to be sacked.
Absolute charlatan, Graham Potter.
Prediction, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to say, look, everyone's entitled to their own view, but unfortunately, Michael's, like his moustache, is stuck in 1882.
Come on. Right. We're going to have more of this at some point.
He can polish a turd, that bloke, can't he? He can polish a turd.
We've got a lot of time over the next few weeks to talk. We are going to be doing that. We're gonna get score predictions now for the Nottingham Forest game. Let's do that.
I want score predictions on me v Manny first. Give us a scorecard.
Manny was 25 in 1982.
I wish.
Right. Score prediction in nil because we're going to be live in 3.5 hours. So let's wrap this up. But score prediction for Forest.
2-0 Forest.
Okay, Manny.
1-1.
1-1. Jamie Vardy?
No. That's the Ipswich
Okay.
game. Home.
Okay.
He's saving it for home.
Michael, Nottingham score prediction for the Forest game.
We can agree on some things, Manny. I also think 1-1 is a chance there.
See, we agree on some things, Michael.
Let's kiss and make up.
Oh, I love you. I do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say. I was gonna go 1-1, but I don't want to be boring. 2-1. 2-1 Leicester. 2-1 Leicester win.
beauty.
Leicester win. Although, then there will be even more people saying, let's keep Ruud van Nistelrooy for next season, for fuck's sake. 'Cause, yeah, I can see that happening. Let's see what people are saying. JB saying 2-1 Leicester as well. Kunal, 1-1. Classic IU, 90th minute equaliser. Azola says 2-2 draw. Costa is saying 1-1 with Vardy goal. LCFC Grego for a 1-0 win. Another clean sheet away at Forest. That would be crazy. Scott says 3-1 Forest. Vardy for us. Daz is saying 1-0 City. 3-0 Forest, says the Forest fan. And Dallas Foxes says 3-1 Forest. 2-1 Leicester. There we go. We'll end on that one. 2-1 Leicester. Actually, no, let's go with this one, actually. 4-0 Leicester. Are you with all four? There we go. Right, as I said, we will be back live in 3.5 hours. 2 o'clock. I think kickoff's at 2:15. So we will be live from 2 o'clock for the match day live watch along stuff. As I said, if you did enjoy all of the manager debate, it will be coming again because we've got exactly, and I don't think we're going to hear anything anytime soon. So there will be a lot up in the air. Probably we'll be talking about Dyche, Russell Martin. If Manny has his way, Willy Caballero or some guy from the Farmers League in Bundesliga 2.
Sorry,
you're right there, Manny.
No, I'm just.
Here we go.
I'm sorry. I was just having a bit of a choke, like Wolfie. Just ignore that. Getting nervous now, Wolfie, aren't you? It's match day. All that big talk you've been giving. Now you're bricking it at the start of the season. I knew it.
Is the Aussie back today? I'm sure he will be. I'm sure Luke will be with us for the game today. Yeah, absolutely. Finally, quickly, likes up. Make sure to hit the like button if you can, please. There's still over 100, so just hit the like button. That'd be much appreciated. And bottom three. There we go. Yeah. All right. See you guys soon. We'll see you at 2 o'clock for Matchday Live. Cheers to Anil. Cheers to Manny. Cheers to Michael. Yeah, all good. See you soon. Bye bye.